welcome back to the Mini Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into it, Mini. I know I probably say that quite a bit here, but soda of the podcast tonight, we are going with another beautiful drink from our great friends over at Northern Soda Co. It's the craft soda cola, as usual, from them, made with cane sugar, which is delicious. I have to say, it tastes different than your normal cola, your Coke, your Pepsi, but very good and a very interesting take on it that I very much enjoy. I might have to go back and get a 24 pack of just these if I'm being completely honest with you guys. So yes, like always try to let you guys know that maybe are new here. If you don't know about Northern Soda Co. or Northern Soda Company, they are a local Minnesota craft brew space in, technically it's New Brighton, but it's right off of essentially 35W. If you're going south and you get off on County Road D West, you get on Old Highway Southwest and you kind of go back there in like that, kind of like a warehouse area. It is worth the drive if you live in the area. If you live within the Twin Cities, it's definitely worth the drive. And if I'm being completely honest, if you're from North Minnesota or South Minnesota, come up and add it to your repertoire of things you're doing in the Twin Cities. You will not be disappointed. They have so many cool things that you can do there. Everything, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, is reasonably priced. From their merch, excuse me, it sounds like I have a frog in my throat. I apologize. Everything from their merch, their sodas, their food, and they even have games, board games, card games, everything like that, that you can. They just have like on a thing that you can play for free. And sometimes if you're lucky, if it's nice out in the spring, summer, or fall, they have like bags and things that you can do outside. And they even have events and stuff such that you can do. Let me see what they got coming up here for you guys. So in September, we're already at the 24th. I can't believe we're essentially almost September. Crazy to me. But tomorrow, on Thursday the 25th, happy Thursday, $1 off mugs and flights. And then on 26th, they have a sample frenzy. They usually post on their social media, specifically Instagram, what they're having on tap each weekend, because they are only open Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And they have at 5 p.m. an art class, mandala. So more information under their events tab at www.northernsoda.com. But some of the things they had earlier this month that we've already passed, they have sewing classes, they have field trips, days that they're actually closed, that they're at certain places. Back on the 13th, they were at Rustic Mama Market in Owatonna. They have art classes, sewing classes, bingos on Thursdays. Like I said, and they even had, oh my gosh, I forgot about this. They had a back to school party. So they had dirty soda and float bar, games like pop pong and can jam, wear school gear to take home a free sticker, help us decorate their new community door, bring a book and take a book, raffle, $15, 15% discount away, always for educators. Guys, this is a really cool, really fun local business to support. I urge you, if you haven't checked them out, you can even on their website order a 24 pack or 6-pack, stuff like that. So go check them out. Before we get going, on their website, some of their staples they have here, they have a little excerpt that says, based off of a popular cola recipe from a Minnesota soda company in the 1950s, a very smooth, gently carbonated cola with the slightest hint of mandarin orange zest. Only soda with caffeine. That's what that is. I love it. I love it. One of my favorite things about their cans on every single one of them, I don't know if you can see it, but up here right over their thing, it always says Minnesota made. Like I said, love supporting Minnesota businesses here on the podcast. Like I said, I really like it. It is a little bit different than your traditional cola. Don't get me wrong, I love my Pepsis. I love, there's nothing better than going out to the bar and getting a nice Coke or Pepsi. But there is something unique to this that makes me want to get it more and makes me want to I think it's very good. I'm gonna go 8-9. I'm gonna go 8-9. I think that's a good spot for it. And yeah, very solid. Like I said, if you're looking to try something I mean, kind of different. This doesn't taste like what you're expecting it to taste like. The mandarin orange zest, I know some of you may be listening that may kind of turn you off from them. It's really is the slightest hint of it. So I urge you guys, go check them out, northernsoda.com. You can find them on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram as well. You will not be disappointed. And then lastly, like I said, they're only open on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Thursdays and Fridays, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then Sundays, noon to 6 p.m. So go check them out. I feel like such a moron for Tommytown. We just kind of let it go by the wayside here. The women's hockey team got underway this last weekend. They're now 2-0 to start the season. They were out in Connecticut to take on Post University. They opened up the season on the 20th with a commanding 7-0 lead win over Post, and then on Sunday, September 21st, an 6-1 lead, which is amazing. The Tommies got goals from 7 different ladies on the first night. 11 different gals on the first night. Where is it here? St. Thomas. Riley Bartz finished with 3 points. Ella Berger finished with 3 assists. And then other than that, most girls, Chloe Boreen, Isla Lindemann, Ella House, and Maddie Brown, and Kara Savicek all finished with a goal and an assist. So it really was a team effort. And this is, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, one thing that I feel like this team has prided themselves on since they've come into the Division I era. It's not just one gal or their top line that really carries this team. They're literally and really getting points up and down this lineup, which is amazing. And it was, a new goalie. Graduate student from Quebec, Julia Minotti. She got the first win of the season, stopping 5 total shots in the opening night. And then on Sunday, the 6-1 lead, or the 6-1 victory was seen by both Riley Bartz and Chloe Boreen scoring twice. Sadie Lindsay and Josie Skoogman, another pioneer, getting in on the scoring action. For the Tommies, they were led by Riley Bartz, like I said, and Chloe Boreen with their 2 goals. Janessa Gazdick and Nora Sauer finished with 2 assists. And this time around, it was Julie Minot who also picked up the second win of the season, stopping 12 total shots. However, Nora Hannon would also see action. The freshman goalie from Edina, Minnesota, stopped 2 shots in the third period. So a huge congratulations to the women's team getting the season kicked off here. They are on the road for 1, 2, 3 more weekends before they come home for against Providence Friars to open up the Lee and Penny Anderson new arena. My brother-in-law and I already got our games for the Friday night 7:07 game for the men's game against Providence. Be there. You guys will not want to forget this if you're a Tommy alumni. Or even if you're just a college hockey fan in the area, go check it out. This place is going to be electric, and can't wait to see this place in action. And then up next for this team, they will be in St. Charles, Missouri to take on Lindenwood Friday, September 26th at 6 p.m. and then on Saturday, the 27th at 2 p.m. So good luck this upcoming weekend for the women's team. And then as far as the men's team is concerned, the men's team still have to wait a little bit for their first game. They'll go to St. Cloud for a game against St. Cloud State on October 4th. But the Tommies really got some preseason love before anything's kicked off back on, come here, again, discombobulated, back on September, oh gosh, what did it really happen on September 15th? Oh my gosh. No, sorry. Lucas Wallen received preseason All-CCHA honors from both the coaches and media. The third-year captain was also named preseason player of the year by the coaches for the second time in a row. He finished last season after being named preseason player of the year with 17 goals, 24 assists, and 41 points, only behind his teammate Liam Malmquist. And the newcomer Nathan Pilling, a freshman forward from Alberta, Calgary, was voted Rookie of the Year by the league's coaches. He's coming off a career best season with the Seattle Thunderbirds of the WHL. But more importantly, this Tommy team was in the coaches poll named number one and the media poll number two, only behind Minnesota State. The Tommies received 72 total votes, 3 first place votes. In the coaches poll, Minnesota State was right behind them, 71 total points, but 4 first place votes. Michigan Tech 59 with 2 first place votes. Those are the only 3 teams that had first place votes. And then rounding out the top, let's just call it 5, Augustana was technically tied with Michigan Tech at 59 points, and then Bowling Green with 58 points. So a huge accomplishment for this team. Obviously, for those that don't remember, this will be their last year in the CCHA, as next year they will be in the NCHC with Miami of Ohio, Denver, North Dakota, Omaha, some of those teams, and a lot of good talent there. And very similar to the women's team, they're going to have to beat some really good teams in the regular season to kind of be one of the better teams in their conference next year. And if that wasn't enough, St. Thomas Tommies on NCAA.com are in the preseason rankings, ranked number 19 for the first time ever. A huge accomplishment, but it doesn't stop there. They are going to have their work cut out for them, as their first, what did I say? 5 of their first 4 teams they play are either receiving votes or in the top 20. St. Cloud State, is receiving votes. North Dakota after that right now is 11th. And then after North Dakota, Air Force unfortunately isn't ranked. But then when they come back to take on Providence, everybody thought that was going to be a cakewalk. Not necessarily. Providence is number 9 right now in the country. And then right after them, Minnesota State, a fellow CCHA team, is 18th. So it's awesome to definitely get that love and respect early on in the season, preseason, but you have a lot of work to back that up and prove that you belong in the top 20. Not easy to get here. You got teams like Minnesota, Maine, Boston College, Denver, Penn State with that Gavin, Boston University, Western Michigan, North Dakota, Quinnipiac, Arizona State, just to name a few. So, again, super exciting. Love that for this team, but it's time to prove it. And I think they'll be just fine this year. They have a healthy amount of guys returning, veterans transferring in, and newcomers coming in. So it should make for a fun season for the men's hockey team. No new news on the basketball teams. As many of you know, college basketball typically doesn't start until around the same time as NBA basketball, kind of late October, sometimes even early November. Still have a little bit ways to go, but we are off our bye week, so we have football games to watch this upcoming weekend, as the St. Thomas Tommies will travel to San Diego to take on the University of San Diego Toreros. Kickoff is set for 3 p.m. in San Diego. And you can actually, this game I'm excited to watch. You can stream on ESPN Plus, which I am super excited for. Excuse me. It's also worth noting, this kind of jumped out at me when I was getting ready for the podcast. It says opening number. St. Thomas has never lost a Pioneer Football League opener in its Division I era. The Tommies are 4-0 in conference openers in the Division I era, and 13-3 since head coach Glenn Caruso took over in 2008. Under Caruso, St. Thomas has averaged 41.4 points per game in conference openers, including 35 points per game average in the Division I era, which is unbelievable. They're going to have their work cut out for them, as Saturday's matchup will feature 2 Pioneer Football League champion hopefuls. San Diego was actually picked to win the league preseason coaches poll, while St. Thomas was picked to finish 3rd, and the Tommies will be looking for their 2nd title in 5 seasons, having won the Pioneer Football League back in 2022. Super excited. Can't wait to see them get underway. Yeah, like I said, it'll be a good one. It'll be a good measuring stick. I kind of forgot that the Toreos were picked to win the Pioneer Football League. And you know what? Let's just double check. I already got out of it. Right now, the Tommy football team is, while I'm pulling this up, is worth noting. They are technically right now receiving votes. They are receiving votes. It says as of right now, St. Thomas is let's say 21 votes. So not bad. But then I also wanted to double check. I want to see San Diego is right above them with 23 votes. Both right there in the top 25. I'm going to take a quick look here. Does not look like there is a single Pioneer Football League team in there. So hopefully the St. Thomas team can rattle off a bunch of straight wins and get some recognition in the top 25. But only time will tell. So, yes, super excited for the football team. I can't wait to see them get in action. Like I said, they will be playing at 3 p.m. this Saturday, the 26th, against San Diego in San Diego. And then for our Minnesota Golden Gophers, they thankfully will not be playing at the exact same time as the Tommies. They have an 11 o'clock kickoff against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, who come into their the Golden Gophers' first a Big Ten game of the year. It'll be their second game of the year as they're coming off of a loss last week from the Iowa Hawkeyes. 3-1 on the year, 0-1 in Big Ten play. Drake Lindsay, the new quarterback, going up against the old quarterback Ethan Kaliak Manis. Yeah, it'll be an interesting game to watch. I'm sure Drake Lindsay and PJ Fleck are eager to get back on the field, especially at home after a disappointing loss that probably left a sour taste from the Cal Bears 2 weeks ago now. But you gotta show up and you gotta beat the team ahead of you. I think the Gophers have a very, very good chance to beat the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They just have to go out and execute. I mean, we've talked about it for a couple of years now with Minnesota, even the Tommies and shit, even the Vikings, even like every team. You have to beat the team ahead of you. Doesn't matter if you come into a matchup 10-0 and your opponent is 1-9. You still got to beat them. And if you don't take your opponent seriously, they're gonna make you pay for that, essentially. Hopefully, the Gophers and Drake Lindsay and company. Darius Taylor is currently leading the way with 161 yards right now. And then Javon Tracy is leading receivers with 150 receiving yards and a touchdown so far. So really, this Minnesota Golden Gophers team, I kind of forgot looking into this. Other than that Northwestern State game, isn't coming in with a ton of points scored. They put up 23 points against Buffalo, and then against California, only 14 points. So I think for this team to be taken seriously, have a chance, they got to find a way to put up points. Or if they're not going to put up a ton of points like Iowa, your defense has got to keep points off the board and religiously keep that offense within, if nothing else, at least striking distance. So yeah, like I said, the Golden Gophers 11 a.m. kickoff at home, Huntington Bank Stadium against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And then at 3 p.m., you got the Tommies kicking off in San Diego against the Toreos for, I think it's week 5. And with that, we now are coming at you guys with our week 5 college football picks. Last week, another good 2-1 week, putting us at 5-4 for the year with our college picks for you guys. Iowa Rutgers did in fact go over 45.5 points. I think it was 66 or 56 points exactly. UNLV did in fact win by at least 2.5 points, and then Nebraska unfortunately lost to Michigan by 3 points, but it was a close game. But just like everything, we always bounce back. So the 3 games I like for you guys this week. First one, we got Alabama and Georgia over 52. I know a lot of people that know me might be thinking, why are you even saying this? But I really do feel this way. I really do think this could be a college football elimination game for Alabama should they not win the game. They absolutely need a big game here. Ty Simpson has been playing very well for the Crimson Tide so far, racking up 9 TDs to go with 0 interceptions. As for Georgia's Gunnar Stockton, he hasn't really had a breakout game yet, and I think he's due for one here. Ryan Williams last week for Alabama put up video game numbers. And so I really, as much as I think both of these teams have solid defenses, I think they're going to be non-factors. And I think these offenses are just going to feast this upcoming week. So give me Alabama, Georgia over 52.5 points. The second bet I like for you guys this week in college football week 5, Virginia plus 7.5 at home over Florida State. I think this is a big, if you're Florida FSU, I think this is a big look ahead spot, as in week 6 they host the Miami Hurricanes, which in turn won't make them good against the Virginia Cavaliers, not taking them seriously like we just talked about with the Gophers. I don't think they're going to take this game very seriously with what they got coming ahead in week 6. And it doesn't help that they had a short week getting ready for the likes of Chandler Morris and this Cavalier offense, who's, if we're being completely honest, Chandler Morris has done a really good job of taking care of the ball. So give me Virginia plus 7.5. I really think Virginia has a chance to actually steal this game from FSU, but all else fails, it'll be a really close game. And then lastly, the third pick I have for you guys. Yes, you are hearing this right. Give me the Minnesota Golden Gophers minus 5.5 over Rutgers. I know Ethan Kaliak, man, is our old quarterback, is playing really well right now, but I think he's due for a bad game. Under PJ Fleck at Huntington Bank Stadium, this Gophers team is very good. And it's just a hard place to win for opponents. Plus, I think after a tough week, like I mentioned earlier, against Cal, and then having the bye to get things right, I think Drake Lindsay will be able to move the ball really well against this defense. And again, we talked about Rutgers last week. If Iowa, a team that doesn't really pride themselves on a explosive or good offense, they can put up 38 on this Rutgers defense, the Gophers should be able to do the exact same thing. So lastly, give me Minnesota Golden Gophers minus 5.5 over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And that's what I got for you guys for college football week 5 bets. Completely insane that we're already into week 5 of the college football season. It feels like it just started. Then our good friends over at UNRL, this last week, we got the drop from our good friends over at UNRL. We went with the Dublin drop. I know some of you might be thinking, did you get the London drop too? And I didn't. I know that is probably coming to you guys as a shock, as it's an Elevation hoodie, and I talk at length about it being a great. I kind of told myself it was probably going to be one or the other. Ultimately, I went with this. As usual, I love the just UNRL up here supporting the Unreal brand. Simple front. I mean, and I've talked to you guys at length about this. I really like this. I've seen some of their hoodies with this little band in the front where you can kind of let your drawstrings go, but then you can also put them in here, which I never thought I'd actually like. I thought it kind of looked dorky, if I'm being completely honest, but I love it, and I think I might need to get more of these myself. But really still just in awe of the back. I probably look like a moron trying to show this to you guys, but if you couldn't see that, go on to their website. It is so pristine. It is so nice, so slick. It really shows you kind of like the vintage, kind of like the old look of Ireland. I really don't even know how to describe it. You guys are just gonna have to. I don't think the pictures out there really do it justice. And if you copped one of these as well, you know exactly too. But even though I didn't go with it, I know all of you that got the London drop, you guys probably did not, or what am I trying to say? Did not regret getting it. I'm sure it fits and is just as amazing as the other Elevation hoodies. And if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I'm like chomping at the bit to find out what they're going to drop for the first first drop of the NFL Volume 5 bundle. And part of, I think for me, what is making me just go so crazy is I'm just curious. Like, they usually drop some of the teasers and stuff like that, but they usually don't do that least like until about a week before it. And right now we're at like 3.5, almost 4 weeks out from this drop. So I'm like, I need to know what it's going to be. I need to know what what the color scheme is going to look like. I'm super, super excited. And then I was surprised when it came in the mail. They sent over the sweats to go with them, and the sweatpants are honestly just as comfortable, if not more comfortable, than the sweatshirt. The sweatshirt is a little thicker than anticipated, but it's still not very, not very overwhelming or overbearing. Really nice texture, really nice material. But the pants, I mean, I'm not going to jump up and show you, but they're cuffed at the bottom or cinched kind of at the bottom too, which I really like in my sweatpants. That way, being a little bit shorter, they don't drag on the floor and everything like that. But super comfy fit. The really cool thing about the pants is they have like a little Dublin thing on the side of it. If you haven't seen it, go on the website, check it out. It's on there too. But yeah, I am chomping at the bit, guys. And I know I dropped last week. I haven't heard anything yet. I'm inclined to think there's something additional going to be coming out. So keep your eyes peeled on Unreal's website, UNRL.com. There's probably going to be something happening. I don't know any specifics between now and October 14th when they're having their first drop for the Volume 5 drops. So just stay peeled, stay alert. I'm super excited. I know you guys are. It feels weird to think we're already going into the 4th week of the NFL this upcoming weekend. But yeah, that's what I got for you guys for Unreal. Go check them out. Find them all over social media, Facebook, X, Instagram. They're on LinkedIn and TikTok too. So go check them out. And then for the hat, I just got we've had it on before, I think it's called their crossover or crossroads hat. Pretty basic, but honestly, one of my favorite hats. It's kind of, I mean, I just say it's black, but it's almost like more dark, kind of like charcoal colored. Simple, again, kind of wicked in the back. And just like everything else from them, fits perfectly. So go check them out if you have not. As usual, make sure you are using my link in my TikTok account, my Instagram account, or in my description for YouTube videos. If you use that link, you'll get $15 off your order, as well as you'll start earning points on your first order as well. And everybody's happy when you're able to save some money. So go check them out, use my link, and we'll be in touch. So yeah, and then before we get too bogged down into the NFL, obviously, as far as NFL is concerned, the Vikings are concerned, we do have quite a bit to talk about. But it kind of snuck up on me. But this last weekend, the preseason started. In fact, we have a couple games going on right now. Florida, Carolina, Calgary, Vancouver, Pittsburgh, Columbus. And our very own Minnesota Wild are already 2 games into their preseason. Their first one Sunday on the 21st. They beat Winnipeg 3-2 in overtime, getting goals from some of the younger guys. Yakov Trenin scored 2, including the overtime winner. Hunter Height scored a power play goal, while Jacob Wallstead, picked up the win, making 21 saves in the effort. And then it kind of surprised me looking at their next game. The next game, they lost 3-2 in overtime from the Dallas Stars. And I was kind of surprised looking up and down this roster. Like, not that they're a bunch of no-names, but this Wild team, they're not playing really anybody. I mean, Vinny Hinostroza, Liam Ogren, Tyler Pitlick, Yakov Trenin, Danila Urov. Like, some of these, Carson Lamb was like, some of these names I recognize are younger guys. Cal Peterson was our goalie, 34 saves in the loss. But I was amazed by who the Dallas Stars were playing. Jamie Benn played Matt Duchene, Ropey Hins, Mikko Rantanen, Jason Robertson, Tyler Sagan, Tomas Hertl, Miro Heiskanen. So a little crazy. Jake Ottinger played and got the win. A little crazy that they were playing so many of their starters, but hey, that's neither here nor there. David Jirasek got the scoring started in the first period with a power play goal, and then Ben Gleason got the only other goal for the Wild in that game. The Wild have 4 more preseason games before they will kick off the regular season on the 25th versus Dallas. Today's the 21st. Our next podcast will be fucking October 1st. They'll have 3 of the last 4 games. 25th, like I said, versus Dallas. 28th versus Chicago. 30th versus Winnipeg. Then the last one will be October 3rd. And I can't even believe, like, not only, like, this NHL season and this year is really, really coming up on me a lot, catching me by surprise. We're less than 2 weeks away from the start of the NHL season, which is pretty insane. Don't get me wrong. I love November when you got the heat of the NFL season. You got wild hockey to watch. You got Timberwolves basketball to watch. But man, it crept up on me, I'm not gonna lie. So super excited and can't wait to see the Wild kind of get underway and see some of the big guys come back and get some skating in before the season starts. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up before we get into the NFL, want to give another shout out to our Minnesota Lynx. So I can't remember if I mentioned it last week, but the night of the last podcast, they did defeat the Golden State Valkyries in their best of 3 series. In game 2, came from behind in outstanding fashion, beating them, advancing to the semifinals. And now they are hosting the Phoenix Mercury in the best of 5 series. Sunday the 21st, they beat them coming from behind as well. I want to say, not really coming from behind, I should say. It was pretty close but down the stretch, they outscored the Mercury 23-10 in the final quarter. However, 2 nights later, the Phoenix Mercury won in a close one, 89-83, in overtime to force at least 2 more games. They got to go to Phoenix Friday the 26th and Sunday the 28th. Hopefully they can win the next 2 games. If nothing else, they'll come back for a Tuesday game, must-win game 5 to advance to the, I believe it's set up a little bit differently than the normal NBA, like the men's. And I believe after this, they just go to the whole enchilada. So yeah, they're awaiting the winner of the Las Vegas Aces, the number 2 seed, and the Indiana Fever, the 6 seed, and they're tied a game apiece as well. Fever took game 1, 89-73. Then the Aces were able to avoid the 0-2 hole, winning 90-68. Regardless of who wins that series, it should be a good series. Hopefully the Minnesota Lynx can go back to the finals again. As Nafizia Collier, I feel like she kind of got cheated out of the MVP voting a little bit, but we won't get into that tonight. But like always, congratulations to them on making it to the semifinals, being 2 games away from getting back to the finals, and good luck this upcoming week. With that, NFL Week 3, a lot of interesting things happening. We saw a ton of defensive stops, a ton of defensive touchdowns. The Cleveland Browns last minute beating the Green Bay Packers 13-10. Excuse me. The Dolphins pretty much matching the Bills point for point intel during the first quarter. Us beating down the Bengals. I knew we were probably going to win that game. I didn't think it was going to be a blowout like that. Our defense came up huge. The Steelers getting a win against the Patriots. The Eagles pretty much eking out a win. Like, that was one of the most lucky wins in game 3 or in week 3. The Buccaneers, another thrilling win over the Jets. Commanders with Marcus Mariota throttled the Raiders. Panthers blanking the Falcons. I mean, the list goes on and on. It goes on and on. And yeah, what a week. One of the fun things, we did this kind of last year, and I kind of like this a couple weeks in. I think last year we did ranking through the first 3 weeks, the 1 and 2 teams. I thought there were 6 teams that are 0 and 3. So before we kind of get more on to some of our stuff here, I took a look at these teams. Some of them I'm very surprised they're 0 and 3. Some of them I'm not. So really quickly, what we're going to do here is we're going to be ranking the 6 0 and 3 teams by how disappointing their start has been. So I'm breaking it down for you guys so there's no confusion. I'm ranking them all 6 from least to most disappointing. So 6 is the least disappointing, 1 is the most disappointing. So coming in at 6, the New Orleans Saints. I think this is pretty simple. Everybody thought they were going to be ass. They have been ass. Spencer Rattler, all things considered, has not looked terrible. But outside of that, this team just hasn't gotten really anything going. He's not the only issue on this roster. This defense hasn't been much better than the offense, with the team surrendering 44 points in week 3 against Seattle. this team is just bad on all three aspects of the game. Number 5, I got the Tennessee Titans. The Titans had, aside from the Saints, the NFL's worst record last year, and they look like they're heading towards the top of the draft again in 2026. I'll be honest, Cam Ward has had his moments, good and bad, and to his credit, this defense for him has just been a nightmare. But it's also kind of how you thought this season would start. A road game in week 1 against the Broncos, followed by a meeting with the Rams, was an easy recipe thinking they were going to be 0-2. And there was just no way they were going to defeat the Colts after the Colts got off to a nice start in the 2 weeks. But yeah, right now for me, those are the 2 least disappointing. They're kind of teams that you figured were going to be bad. So why are we surprised that they're 0-3? 4, I have the New York Jets. I think I'm going to speak for a lot of people when I say nobody thought this team was going to be good. I think most people thought they'd be serviceable, maybe kind of a 500 team, at the very worst, maybe 7-10. But there was a little bit of hype about hiring Aaron Glenn as their head coach, what Justin Fields might be able to do with a full-time shot to play quarterback. But he's injured. The Jets are still winless. The offense has been decent enough to make them look okay, but the defense keeps surrendering scores. They almost pulled off a shocking upset against the Bucs on the road in week 3, and they're probably on their way to getting their first win against the Dolphins this upcoming week. But again, a little cause for concern, but I don't think anybody expected them to be great. Number 3, the New York Giants. Russell Wilson had one really, really good game in Dallas, but Sunday's 22-9 loss to the Chiefs was a good reminder of why there was such a little demand to sign the veteran quarterback this offseason. Don't get me wrong, I by no means am saying that the Chiefs throttled them in this win. The Chiefs definitely should have beat them by more, but the Chiefs just aren't great this year. But just once again, this Giants team didn't have a ton of expectations. They have a great wide receiver 1 in Malik Neighbors, but I can't help but feel bad for this defense. I kind of looked at this team coming into the season as offense isn't going to be great, but the defense has the potential to help win them games. But at this point, Brian Dable is already turning to Jackson Dart to see if they can salvage something from an already lost season. Once again, they're going to be towards the top of the 2026 draft. And then coming in at 2, I have the Miami Dolphins. This team, and number 1, if you haven't already guessed it, are legitimate huge disappointments. Starting with this Miami team that should have been in wild card contention at the very least, but instead they just looked awful. Not only do they have the worst scoring defense in the NFL, allowing 32.3 points per game. The offense is averaging 18.7 points per contest. Tua hasn't been good enough to make up for anything. He looks terrible. Mike McDaniels, 3 games into the season, is already looking like he's going to be fired by the end of the season after being one of the most promising head coaches just a couple of years ago. This whole dilemma is just, they're going to hell in a handbasket, essentially. It's awful when you have a promising young head coach like Mike McDaniel. Tua Tagovailoa, I understand he's coming off of a tough season of concussions last year, but when you have the star power that they do in Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, and him, this team at the very least should be able to put up points and go here and there, but they have looked awful, and I am shocked. I'm very shocked. But most importantly, the number 1 team on my list that is the most disappointing 0-3 team right now, the Houston Texans. This is by far the most disappointing 0-3 start in the league. They won the AFC South 2 years in a row and as a third-year quarterback in CJ Stroud, who is supposed to make the leap this season. He's looking like a quarterback the Texans might not even extend after the season. And quite frankly, if I am on the team debating if we're going to re-sign him or not, I would need to see big things changing if, even though we're only 3 games in, big things changing if we're going to extend him to a decent contract. So, yeah, it's really an interesting dilemma they're in. Their defense is solid, good. This offense hasn't been able to do anything. Nico Collins doesn't look great. CJ Stroud doesn't look great. Something major is off down in Houston. The vibes are bad. Like I said, the offense lacks creativity. And watching some of these games on Red Zone already, this team's going to run a halfback draw on 3rd and long, which feels even worse this year because punter Tommy Townsend has taken a step back as well. So again, when you're bad in all aspects of the game, especially in the punting and kicking, that's when you know things are just going very, very south for you. But for a franchise that's lived in the shadow of Indianapolis for most of its existence, this just adds insult to injury. So that's what I got ranking the 0-3 teams already. So now, why don't we get into our fun stuff, our NFL picks. So coming into this week's for you guys, my NFL picks have actually been on fire for you guys. I actually gave you 2 picks for the Vikings game last week. So coming into week 4, we went 2-1 last week and are 3-1 last week, and are a total of 8-2 in the NFL season thus far. So with that, let's get into it. My lock for the week for you guys is the Chargers -6.5 over the Giants. Honestly, the Chargers, even though they don't have Najee Harris the rest of the way, I feel so bad for him. He was looking amazing. They've unleashed running back Omari on Hampton, if I'm being completely honest. Even 3 games in, he's the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and will pound him as the new clear workhorse against a weak Giants run defense. I think they're going to swarm Jackson Dart with their really good pass rush and coverage after stopping the run, trying to squash the true beginning of the Dart era before it even begins. Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, they're honestly going to look like this is a home game, and they're clearly in the Big Apple for this one. I think the Chargers covered this easily in this one. The upset for the week, we talked about it earlier. The Jets +2.5 over the Dolphins. Yeah, the Jets are playing hard right now, if nothing else, with some energy for defensive-minded rookie coach Aaron Glenn, like we've talked about. They have shown a lot of life in, I would say, probably 2 of their 3 games so far, and are better prepared to rebound from 0-3 than the Dolphins, if I'm being completely honest. Glenn, I feel like, gets his first win as a head coach here, while the Dolphins gets closer to the end of the Mike McDaniel era. I got the Jets winning this one. I would be surprised if the Jets don't win this at least by, a touchdown, but what do I know? And then the Vikings-Steelers game, it's boring, but I'm going to continue to do it because I'm in the market of making money and wanting to make money. But unfortunately, the spread right now is just 2.5, and I'm just going to take the Vikings at 2.5. Coming into this game, Pittsburgh has been favored in all 3 of its games this season, and they're just 1-2 against the spread so far. Their passing attack hasn't shown much promise since Rodgers torched the Jets defense in week 1. The Steelers are going to need to turn that around quickly to find success against us. However, only the Falcons, Detroit Lions, and Buffalo Bills have given up less passing yards than us ahead of week 4. The Steelers will have to also be able to move the chains and create larger gains to keep up with our offense. That's going to feature Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and now Jordan Addison for Wentz to hit him in stride. TJ Warren is only averaging 3.1 yards per carry as Pittsburgh's most productive back, and that's just not going to cut it against a team like the Vikings, who are fresh off of a 48-point game. And if I'm being completely honest, there is a clear path for this Vikings team to win by at least a touchdown, potentially more. So give me the Vikings -2. And then with that, we will just segment into the Vikings game kind of preview. With that, like I've been doing the last couple weeks for you guys, I'm going to keep it simple. I got us winning this game 31-21. I think it'll be a 10-point game. And really, as good as Aaron Rodgers has shown that he is and that he can be this year, he's not very mobile, even in terms of buying himself a couple of seconds. Like, if he's not getting the ball out relatively quickly, he's showing that it's not great for him. I anticipate Brian Flores shaking up coverage and making him feel uncomfortable, and I especially think he's going to bring heat and bring pressure to him in the early parts of the game to make him just extra uncomfortable and make it harder for him to be able to keep going and being his 42-year-old self. Like I said, I got us winning 31-21. So with that, on the offensive side of the ball, I got Jordan Mason rushing for one. You guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but I really like this. Rushing for 150 yards over this Pittsburgh defense. He has a chance to get there against there now that Aaron Jones is injured and being the number one back. He's looked amazing, and after the Pittsburgh Steelers have allowed over 100 rushing yards in each of their team's first 3 games, look for the Minnesota Vikings to punish this poor rush defense and hopefully use that to open up the air raid so that Carson Wentz can hit the likes of Addison, Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson. They're kind of bold prediction, if you will. I think Addison gets his first TD of the season in his first game back. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think we're going to sack Rodgers at least 5 times. Like I said, this guy is 42 years old. He's not moving his feet particularly well. I think if we get to him early and often, it could be a very long game, and it could very well turn into a 48-10 type of game like we had this last weekend, to help ease Jordan Addison back into things and all that type of fun stuff. So like usual, had a fun night talking sports with you guys. Reach out if you guys have any topics you want me to address or even questions. We're kind of getting into the heat of the NFL season. Hockey and basketball are right around the corner. So let me know if there's anything that I can answer for you guys that you want me to talk about. If you want to remain anonymous with your questions, let me know. We do like to shout you guys out if you send stuff. So please let me know that. Reach out on, we're on X, we're on Twitter. Sorry, that's the same thing. We're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, Facebook. You can email us. I know we have been bad about our first touchdown challenge. I was out of town this last weekend, but I think from the first 2 games, we have $50 rolling into week 2 or week 4 here. So get your picks in by, I think the game starts at 8:30, so let's say 8:15 Sunday morning. So like always, Skol, and until next time, Minnie.